Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa, and in this video we're going to cover an absolutely awesome interview that the Reddit moderators conducted with Jeff, Big Daddy Jeff, last week in New York City. This was the New York City kind of anniversary press briefing event. Very luckily, some of the guys from Reddit actually went over there, and it's awesome to have guys like that go over there because traditional media, they don't really ask very good questions when it comes to games communities and stuff. You're always better off with people who are more entrenched in the community. So there is a link in the description if you guys want to check that out. It's a massive interview. Go and check it out. There's loads of information in there. But in this video, we're going to look at a few kind of interesting topics to me. So, and I like to say the word interesting because this first one is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. This is golden weapons in competitive. Jeff said this is a mistake, and if you could go back in time, well, there wouldn't be any golden weapons in competitive. So check this out. I'll say something even more controversial. I wish we wouldn't have never added any cosmetic items into competitive. I think the people playing competitive should only be there because they really care about playing in competitive mode and that they want to rise through the tiers. That's who I think belongs in competitive. Now, the quote goes on and there's a bit more information, but that first paragraph, well, it sums it up. The problem with competitive right now and the problem with the golden rewards is, and we've all been there, guys. In fact, I have seen people doing this today, and you know my policy, I don't like to name and shame people in videos, but there have been people in games that I've been playing today that have simply said to me they do not care about the game because they've already got their golden weapon. That is horrifically bad. So there's two attitudes, right? You've got that kind of attitude where I've reached my goals. Let's say you had the lofty goal of getting to Grandmaster. You got to Grandmaster, that means you're guaranteed a golden weapon for next season. So now you don't care. You're just like, whatever, I'm going to play competitive because I think it's a bit more interesting than quick play, so whatever, I don't care if we lose. It means nothing to me, I don't care. That's a terrible attitude to have because in every competitive game, you should go in to win. You shouldn't go in there to be like, oh, you know what, it's fine. Like, I've already got my reward out of this, which is completely wrong because the reward of competitive is to win the game. And the other way of looking at this is people who have no intention of playing competitively. So maybe people who enjoy the arcade game modes or enjoy quick play and things like that, maybe they just want the golden weapon. Like, the only reason they go in there is for the golden weapon. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing because they might go in and be like, oh, I actually like competitive and start playing it more. But there are definite camps of different kinds of people who play Overwatch. There are people who enjoy competitive, and then there are people that are just going into competitive just to get the golden weapon, which is not great. Those guys who do reach their goals and get the weapon, that's good from them. They've achieved their goal. That is awesome. But to then throw games by saying, oh, it doesn't matter, I've got my golden weapon, is really bad. That's a design problem from Blizzard. They're not incentivizing competitive play properly. There should be different kinds of rewards to keep you going. Currently, beyond the golden weapons, the only thing you've really got is if you get into top 500. Now, with top 500 this season being the only 500 people in the region, it's way more difficult to get into. So obviously, it's populated by a lot of pro gamers. It's populated by people who are amazingly good at this game. So to get into top 500 is a major achievement right now. Of course, the other camp of people who don't play competitive but want the golden weapons, it's not entirely fair to those guys either. Imagine if you're a quick play player, right? But you want that golden mercy staff. How the hell do you get that? You can't get that playing quick play. You need to play competitive. So that, in my eyes, is a major problem. I hope you guys agree with what I'm saying here, but I agree with what Jeff is saying in a way. But I also want golden weapons in the game. I also want people to be able to get golden weapons more easily. But I don't think that they should just be rewards in competitive because I guess the other way of looking at this is they don't actually mean anything anyway in competitive. You could lose loads of games and not really be that good at competitive, but just because you play a massive quantity of games, you still get the golden weapons. I don't think that's right. But again, they don't want to make them too exclusive. That's why I think there is the chance there for everybody to get them. But it is a massive issue, golden weapons is. And I'm honestly, I'm really happy that Jeff has come out and said this because I agree with this completely. And this is quite a big thing to say, especially from the games director, to just say, look, we've made a mistake here and I wish we could get rid of this. I honestly can't see anything wrong with what he said. I mean, let me know in the comments below, guys, if you think there are, there's some confusion with my understanding of this, but I'm pretty much in line with what Jeff's saying here. Now, in another recent video on the channel, I discussed the idea that there are no more new events coming to Overwatch. Now, obviously that's not entirely accurate. There will be events coming to Overwatch, but they will be upgrades of the current events we've got. And Jeff actually goes into a bit of detail on this because I think the initial way it was sort of portrayed and the way I kind of jumped onto it was, oh god, there's no more new events. This is just, we're going to get these events every single year and they're going to be slightly different. Check this out. This is what Jeff said. I think we need to be careful about event fatigue. Part of what makes events feel special is that they're not happening all of the time. Now, we're about to hit our 6th event. It's almost like an event is happening every other month. I don't think there's no room ever again. But I also think we should really start to take our foot off the gas pedal when it comes to events, and I think the focus for year 2 needs to become what will Summer Games look like when it happens again, because there's a certain spirit to it. Like, they really miss Lucio Ball and they really want it back, so it should have that. We shouldn't just press a reset button and make an event from new. It should be the same event that you remember from last year, but maybe we modify some things that weren't working and add some extra content. I think the next year will just be about refining the events we have rather than adding new ones. But I would never take adding a new event off the table. Now, he actually goes on to give an example of what this could mean. So, on Junkenstein's Revenge, he says, imagine if the castle door opened and there was like a different stage to it. I think that's where we're going to go. Now, I honestly, like, the more I think about this, the more I agree with this. I think my major issue was before, I was very much into the whole, like, oh my god, what's the next event going to be? What is the next event? Blizzard have put the bar so high, we're going to have events. What could this event be? We just don't know. It's like a mystery. We got real world events, then we wanted an in-game kind of lore event. We got that, and it was awesome, and it keeps coming. So what's going to happen? Well, we kind of know now what's going to happen. We know that after the anniversary event, it's going to be Summer Games. But what's going to be in the Summer Games? You've got to imagine the amount of work that's gone into these videos. Blizzard, it's not into these videos, sorry, into the events. So Blizzard have put tons and tons of work into building these events from scratch. You wouldn't just throw that away and then bring out a new event, would you? But the problem is there is a little bit of kind of fatigue in a different way that Jeff doesn't really touch on, that it's Summer Games, but we've already had Summer Games. So it's going to be now even more difficult for Blizzard to take these events that they've had in the past and then refine them and then make them more interesting and then make them being able to draw you back, because there will be players out there who'll be like, well, I didn't really like Summer Games, so I don't really care about this, and it might not draw them back. Whereas if it was a totally different, imagine if it was the Winter Games, for example, although it wouldn't make sense because, well, it wouldn't happen during the Winter Wonderland event. But imagine if that happened, it might be a little bit different. But maybe they could do things like that anyway. It could be the Summer Winter Games, I don't know. But it's going to be interesting seeing how they develop these things. But one of the things which we really need to pick up on here is Jeff has clearly said that if there are things that people liked from the previous events, they will come back. So Lucio Ball will come back. So if I was to go into wild speculation mode right now, I would say that the event we're going to get for the Summer Games will feature Lucio Ball and possibly another event. Maybe not based on Lucio, maybe based on somebody else, maybe like a Tracer Hurdles event or something like that. Or maybe we get a more advanced version of Lucio Ball where there's like teams you can form and a Lucio Ball league or something like that, because they could take that from the leaderboard that they implemented for Junkenstein's Revenge. So there's a lot of different options for them, and I think that is super, 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 I'm going to say it again, guys, interesting, because it really, really is. The last thing I want to cover in this video as well is the idea of adding new items to the game that are permanent, because that's great. Check this out. Yeah, actually, this is going to be a little confusing, but in the anniversary patch, we have non-event cosmetics going into the standard loot box. So Sombra gets her Sit and Laugh, Orisa gets her Sit and Laugh, so those are highly asked for. Tracer gets an emote because she was an emote short. Tracer always gets the emotes, right, guys? She gets everything. And one of hers overlapped with Sit and Laugh, so we decided to do a make good on Tracer, so Tracer gets one. And because the community loved Reaper Shrug so much, we felt like we had to give the Reaper a shrug. So we went ahead and made that emote. We also made a spray of it. Our lead animator, Ryan Dennison, I'm poking behind, my contact lens is falling out. Jesus Christ, in the middle of my video. No! Was following the feedback. We don't know that Comic Pain was going to turn into, so I didn't know, the Reaper Shrug thing. That's awesome. So, yeah, this is good, right? We need more of this stuff. Like, I like all of the new stuff when it hits the game for all the events, but it makes me really, really sad when the event finishes and you can't really get any of those items again. Now, what Jeff's saying here is, yes, you're not going to be able to just get all of the event-specific loot after the event finishes. That's not going to happen. But what they're going to do is add items that are permanent items to the game, and they're going to do it for the very first time here. Now, are they going to do this in future more often? I hope they do, because it would be nice to just increase the base level of loot and cosmetics that we can collect. Because you've got to remember, like Jeff said earlier on, they do an event every other month, but for those months where there's a gap, there's no real chance to earn new stuff. So they could introduce, like, let's say second tier emotes, new sprays, new bits and pieces. Like they introduced the Sombra spray, remember, for the ARG, and that wasn't really linked to an event in the sense of it didn't come live as an event went live. It was kind of before that. So they have sort of done this before in a way, but I think this is great. Like adding more stuff to the base game would be awesome. And I suppose if they've got a lot of development team which don't have to use their time building events up from the ground, they could use those guys to maybe produce more sort of standard items which will always be available. It's a very interesting idea. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot of other stuff in this thread. I highly recommend you check this out because there's a ton of topics that have been covered. I've picked the best 3 in my eyes that I would like to discuss because I think the whole idea of competitive golden weapons is very, very interesting, and that is definitely something that needs to be addressed. But they can't just remove the golden weapons, can they? They have to think of another way of rewarding you for playing competitive. Yes, giving you a special avatar was one way of doing it, but it's very easy to obtain the avatar. I think you just need to play a game in the season, don't you? Finish your placement games or something like that. Not difficult. Again, it's not really skill related. Getting a golden weapon is not skill related. The only thing that is skill related is if you're a top 500 player. But the problem with that is being a top 500 player is, well, there's only 500 of you. And last time I looked, Overwatch has got 30 million active accounts, or active players, or accounts created. We don't actually know the exact number of players. It won't be 30 million. It'll be a bit less than that. But even in EU, that means only 500 people out of a possible 10 million players are going to be at that level. So yeah, you've got to be really, really good for that. So they do need to think of ways of changing that up. I want you guys to let me know in the comments below how you think they could change the competitive reward system. Like, what could they do to give you, I don't know, different sort of rewards? Maybe they reward you based on how many games you win, because winning more games might indicate you're a better player. But then again, we've got the whole issue with the way SR is calculated in Overwatch. It's a team game and all of that stuff. Anyway, then we moved on to talking about event fatigue, which was very interesting in the way that Jeff kind of describes it. They're not going to be making new events as such. There will be some new events. I mean, we won't get Uprising again. It'd be silly to do that event again. There'll be a different style of PvE event, that's for sure. And the other events will change. And possibly, maybe they will throw out the odd new event every now and again. But for the most part, we're going to be getting the same events again. I don't know what you guys think about that. Let me know in the comments below. And finally, adding more standard items to the game, which I think is a good idea. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Stylosa, and this is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then like the video. I am listening to feedback that I've been receiving recently. I don't want you to think certain ways about me, so I'm trying my best to be a bit more concise in my videos, and you know, all of that good stuff. It's all a learning process. Remember, we're both in this together. Like, you guys watch the videos, I make the videos, we all come together, and it's all beautiful. All right then, guys, you can follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming, and you can join a Discord, which is discord.gg/UnitLost. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Toodaloo.